So we were just talking back there about how it's been sort of a long journey
Yes.
with this film. So
Yeah.
when was the first sort of seed of Frances Ha?
Probably the first seed of Frances Ha was in, I guess, 2009. And then it took about a year to write it. And then, I mean, not a solid year. I was doing other things. That would be very slow. And then we shot it. God, we shot it like over a longer period of time. I think the last shooting we did was in 2012, and then it premiered in 2012 at the Telluride Film Festival, and then it was bought, and then it was held until this past spring. So it's been an incredible journey, but it's also feels like it's been a very long gestation period.
And how does having gone through that process of developing the story affect it when you come to the time to act in the movie?
I find them to be very separate process. It's not, I mean, because the script writing process and the acting process were very distinct, and there's no improvisation, and we didn't change the script once we were on set. So really the script was the script, and then it existed as a document, and then we started casting all the roles. And I felt like I was first approaching it from the position of auditioning other actors, which was really fun and really terrifying. So I was trying to find Frances while they were trying to find their characters they were auditioning for. And it's funny because it didn't really help me that I had written it in acting, because in some ways there's like practical decisions you're making while you're writing, because in a certain scene, okay, this piece of information needs to get out, and you find ways to get the information out and disguise it as best you can so it doesn't feel like exposition. But there's like an element of writing that's very nuts and bolts. But then when you're an actor, you can never say anything because you're saying it because we need to know it for the next scene. It has to be motivated by another reason. So in some ways, it's like another turn of the creative wheel. And maybe great writers, it's all combined, and there's always a reason. But I think for me, sometimes you just need to get information out.
So you mentioned earlier that when the movie was first being conceived, that part of the idea was to film in New York, and we're here in New York. So how does the city figure as a character in the movie?
I love New York so much, it's hard for me to even talk about it in an analytical way. I love it, and I've been very lucky, but I certainly spent a couple of lean years here, and there's something terrifying about that, because if you're not from here and you don't have anything to fall back on, it really is like, if 3 things go wrong this week, I have to go home, which is a terrible feeling. But it's also, when it goes right, it's so tremendously exciting and thrilling, and you feel like you're part of a tradition of going to this city to seek your fortune.
And with the black and white, is that at all a reference to Manhattan, the movie?
It was the decision to shoot in black and white was very intuitive, and I mean, we did a lot of camera tests and really tried to get that sort of silvery, soft black and white that's in the movie. But it was as much about I think some of the French New Wave films as it was about Woody Allen. But I think it was also because we were making it on our own terms, and we were making a movie about women in which there's no fire war, nobody dies, nobody has sex. Because we were doing something like that, we also felt like, let's make it exactly how we want to make it. We want to make it in black and white, and we can do it. We're making it exactly how we want, and it seemed like it was a tribute to our love of a certain kind of cinema.
And in terms of that relationship in Frances Ha between these best friends, how do you think that sort of, in terms of as a story, compares to a story of a romance, which is something you see much more often as the central relationship?
Well, I think my interest in this goes back to actually college. I took a lot of playwriting classes. I wanted to be a playwright, and I wrote a play about friends, a group of friends, and I remember my playwriting teacher told me, it doesn't matter. There are no stakes because everyone knows that you just aren't going to be friends at some point. Nobody believes that this will work. And I think, to me, I was like, but that, first of all, I felt like that's exactly why you should write a play or a movie about it, because it's inherently tragic. You will not marry your best friend. But it also, I feel like, this is my own ranting about, I guess, women in film, but I mean, I think there are so many more stories than falling in love or not falling in love, and I think it's almost, I feel like it's our responsibility to find narratives that don't include that, and that are real stories, because I think that stories do exist outside of their specifics, and there are forms to stories that we want, and I really believe in good nuts and bolts storytelling, but I think that there are more than just love stories for women. So, I mean, in even this movie, it is a love story in some way, even though it's a friendship love story.
How much of Frances is you?
I mean, I put a lot of me in there, but I also put a lot of other people in there. Some of them weren't so happy about it. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to tease it out. I would say, when Noah and I have talked about it, I see it as almost like the way some actors have creations of characters that seem, it's not them, but it could have only come from them, and I think David Thewlis in Naked is one example of that, which he developed that character with Mike Leigh. I think Mike Leigh characters in general have that quality. The actors are, they're not playing themselves, but it's some resonant string deep inside of them that they're plucking and mirroring out. And so, I mean, I've had a very different life from Frances, and I'm a very different kind of a person. But I don't think I mean, it sounds arrogant, but I think probably only I could have created her.
Great. Well, thanks for coming, everyone, and thanks, Greta.
Thank you.